Okay, well, welcome to the first lesson. In this lesson, we're going to download and install Visual Studio 2017, and we're going to download and install the Git command line tools, which will be useful for us along the way. This isn't absolutely required, and if you don't want to install them, that's fine. You can use Git entirely from Visual Studio as well, but I like the command line tools, and I have them already installed. In fact, I have this already installed on my system, so I'm not going to install it here. This is the URL you want to go to. It's visualstudio.microsoft.com/downloads, and you'll see the Visual Studio here. We want the community edition. You just click on the free download. It'll come to this, ask you for a survey. You can fill out that survey if you wish, and you can save it. I'm going to go ahead and save it so that I can easily bring it up here, and no thanks on the survey. Now I'm using Chrome, and it appears down here in the lower left hand corner where I downloaded it, and I can open it from there. If you're using a different browser, it might be in a different location. You might have to find it in your downloads folder. But here I'm just going to right click on it and select open. And here's the Visual Studio installer. We'll click continue. And now, since I've already got it installed, it's really just going to come up with an update for it. But in this update screens, I can show you the components you'll need to install in Visual Studio when you install it for the first time. And of course, if you already have Visual Studio installed, that's fine. Most likely, it won't be any problem. But for this course, it would be preferable if you have Visual Studio 2017. The exact build that I will be using is this 15.8.9. Now you'll notice it says here modify or launch. That's because I already have it installed. I also have the Enterprise Edition, but we'll be using the Community Edition. I don't want to confuse things with tools and capabilities that are in Enterprise that you may not have. So here in this, I'm going to go ahead and click on modify. And you should have, during your initial install, this screen or a screen very similar to it that has these workloads. And there's only two. I've got a number of them installed for my purposes, but the only two that you will need is this .NET Desktop Development and ASP.NET and Web Development component. So you just check those and then come down here and click install. In my case, it says modify. When you're selecting that, you can choose to download all, then install, or install while downloading. Install while downloading is pretty efficient. I'm not going to modify this. There's no need. So that's that one for Git. So if you want the command line tools, you can download them here. Git is also installed in Visual Studio, so this isn't absolutely required. We can use it from Visual Studio, and there are some command line tools that come with Visual Studio. But if you want them or need them, they're here. I'm not going to go through that install. I'm going to quickly show you GitHub. This is my GitHub account right here. You'll be able to come here and find me, and I'll give you detailed instructions on how to do that. And this is where you'll find all the project source code files when everything is completed and the course is launched. Everything we did in the entire course will be up here, and it'll be in stages and modules, and I'll show you how we're going to set that up. In fact, we're going to go ahead and set that up right now. So here we are in Visual Studio. When you first run it, you'll get a screen very similar to this, although you won't have probably any recent projects unless you've already got Visual Studio. What we want to do is create a new project, and that's down here at the bottom, or we can go up here to File, Add, New Project. They both do the same thing. What we're going to want to find here is under Installed, and down here under Other Project Types, we'll find Visual Studio Solutions. And we want to click on Blank Solution, and you can call this whatever you want to call the solution. I'm going to call it Udemy F# course. Now, I'm going to let this create a new Git repository. You can turn that off if you don't want yours to be in a Git repository. I'm going to have mine in a Git repository, and I'm going to use that to push it up to GitHub. And as we go along, I'll show you how to do those things as well. It's a very useful tool, Git. So we'll click OK. and we create our first solution. Now, I'm going to organize this into modules. So this is what you'll see in the GitHub repository. You'll see the main solution with folders under it, and we'll call this module 1. And in module 1, I'm going to add a new project. So I'm just going to right click on module 1 in the Solution Explorer and select add a new project, and we want an F# project. So we're going to look down here under other languages, Visual F#, and we want to click on .NET Core. We'll be using .NET Core throughout this course. There's some reasons for that, which I'll get into later, but mainly .NET Core is really where things are now and where things are going for the future. So we'll stick with .NET Core, and we're going to click up here on Console Application. So we've got F#, .NET Core, Console Application, and we will call this one User Input. Click OK. And there's our initial code. I'm just going to run a quick test, and I suggest you follow along with yours. I'm going to put a little slice of code down here just to allow us to keep the window open when this runs. So I'm going to type console.readKey. And then I'm going to put this little symbol here. I will explain that later, and I will explain this as well, this ignore. You can just go ahead and type that in, console.readKey, pipe through ignore. This function here, main, is the entry point. And you'll notice it's tagged up here as entry point. It's the entry point for our console application. It's just like the main function in C# or in C or in C++. It is the point where the program starts running for the first time. It also needs to be the last file in our list over here, and I'll show you and explain all about that, how file ordering over here in the Solution Explorer works. But for right now, we only have the one file. It's going to print hello world from F# and pause with the screen open. And then all main functions need to return an integer value. And if everything ran fine, it returns a 0. So this is returning the integer exit code. And I'll talk about that. It just says 0. There's no return keyword. Well, there's no return keyword for functions. There is a concept of return, and we will come to that eventually when we talk about some other features of F#. For now, this program should run, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on this green arrow, user input, and we'll see this run. And there it is. Here's our console, and here it says hello world from F#. And so now I put that read key in so it paused and kept it open. Visual Studio, when it pops up a window like this, does not pause it. If it ends, and it closes the window. So we would just see it flicker up there briefly, and it would stop running. This allows us to see what came from the output. That's the read key. So I'm just going to tap the space bar, and it exits. So we're done with that for the moment. Everything should be working. Like I said, the purpose of this simple application was just to make sure everything's working and you've got F# installed properly. If you had any problems, if you couldn't find F#, post something up in the forum and ask about it. Maybe something went wrong during the install or something wasn't there. But please make sure that F# is there and is working and compiles correctly before you move on to the next video. Thanks for watching, and that's the end of video number 1.